I thought it was fitting that we start our Disney vacation episode with quite possibly the greatest vacation movie of all time, National Lampoon's Vacation. Kind of funny that Lindsey Buckingham is no longer in Fleetwood Mac, so he's doing his own thing now. That's okay. This is DisneyVerse Podcast. My name is Michael. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Joined by a full slate of people. We have Trish, Emily, Michelle, Vicky, and returning to the DisneyVerse Podcast is Rain. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
That's awesome. I love that. Hey, don't forget, guys, don't forget to like us on Facebook. Ooh, we might go ahead, Sandy. All right. All right, so thanks very much for joining us here on the DisneyVerse Podcast. Today, we are talking all about Disney park vacations. What you can do to maximize your Disney trip, whether if you're looking to go blowing your budget or, like us, we like to save money and we like to enjoy our experiences with Disneyland without having to go into bankruptcy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Of course, folks, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the show, we do want to give you guys a couple of friendly reminders. First, we have our social media contacts, links, everything. First of all, if you want to email the show, hit us up, DisneyVersePodcast@gmail.com. Again, DisneyVersePodcast@gmail.com is the way to contact the show. Also, if you want to follow us on Twitter, we have Vicky running that Twitter running up nicely, I guess if that's the best way to say it, at DisneyVersePod. And we also have Facebook, facebook.com/DisneyVerse. Don't forget, folks, we do have our Facebook contest still going on for just a few more days where we are doing our big time Wakanda. I guess it's the Black Panther DVD giveaway.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever. We're really excited about this Wakanda. Anyway, so first things first, you got to like the DisneyVerse Podcast Facebook page. First and foremost, number one. Number two, you have to like the Facebook contest announcement, which shows the DVD of Disney Marvel's Black Panther that is currently out on all your favorite devices, including Movies Anywhere, which I found to be a really, really cool avenue to get your digital movies. Everything's being lumped into that. But if you also like the straight old DVD or Blu-ray, you can go ahead and find it at all your major retailers. We want to thank some fine folks who have given us a copy of the Black Panther DVD. And also, we have a pair of Black Panther ears, Mickey ears, that you can wear around the parks as well as you're going on your Disney trip. So, be a lot of fun. So, girls, this is a big one. This is a very big episode because as we love Disney parks, we love going to the Disney parks, we also have to figure out a lot of different ways. So one thing is really important when we get into our discussion tonight is really more or less, what can you do to save money? And that's what our big topic is today on the DisneyVerse Podcast. Saving money at the Disney parks. And, let's just jump right into it because, when you look at Disney parks, yeah, they're pretty expensive, but Rain, I'm going to start with you. As you know, there's a lot of ways you can save money on your experiences at Disneyland or Disney World or any kind of Disney excursion.
When we went to Disney World, it was my boyfriend's first time there in ages. So what we actually ended up doing was making a wish list of everything I thought he would enjoy and everything he knew he wanted to do. So we were crunched for time mostly because we were there working with my mom or helping my mom with her things she was doing. So, for instance, we went to Animal Kingdom our very first day we got there, and the only thing we did was the Ride of the Banshee from that new Avatar world, which was almost a 6.5-hour wait.
Holy crap.
It was worth it.
So clearly Fast Pass was not working that day.
I don't think they had a Fast Pass set up, actually. It was a brand new attraction. They just wanted to see what the queues were, I guess.
Well, I wonder if James Cameron, who, by the way, believes that the Deadpool opening weekend was a very sluggish opening weekend. I wonder if he was thinking that. Yeah, that's another story for another time. I wonder if he was thinking that, oh, this is a great idea to have that, but 6.5 hours. I mean, for God's sakes, that's insane. Emily, I know you just got back from Disneyland. I think you're one of your many excursions down there. I mean, what were some things you saw? Was there, some discounts that were to be had, or were there some things that you saw were just astronomically insane on their pricing?
Oh my goodness, the souvenir cups were astronomically insane from the last time I had gone. I remember getting the Maleficent Dragon Cup for Fantasia, and it was like $7 for it. All the cups are double that now, $14 or $21 for a souvenir cup, which, that's too much for my blood. I won't spend that kind of money, especially I got kids, so like they'll destroy it in a minute.
Right. Well, and now the Maleficent Dragon Cup is on fire, so that's why the prices have gone up. But yeah, I mean, wow, you've seen some of the things on our Facebook page. You've seen probably on the Disney Parks blogs where they have a lot of these different kind of theme cups. They had the Pixar Alien popcorn cups. You've had the more recent Avengers Infinity War, the Gauntlet where Thanos is holding all the jewels.
So
there's
cool.
I know that actually does look. I think that would actually be more cool to have that than the popcorn cup, but. Trish, I know that you have ventured many a times in the parks as well too. I mean, obviously Disney World and Disneyland are way different, and we'll talk big time here in a little bit about the differences. But I mean, growing up down there like you have, I know we've kind of talked off air a little bit about that. It just seems like it's not necessarily about money saving. It's more about getting as much as you can from the patrons of the park than you would when you're just back 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I'll have to agree that it seems, I hate to talk ill of Disney, but it feels like they're, out to squeeze every last penny out of everybody that comes through the door. And, I mean, everything is so expensive, from, food, drinks, souvenirs. It's gotten ridiculous. I mean, I found an old menu from the Tahitian Terrace. Do you remember that?
I do.
Place that was in?
Absolutely.
This menu was from the mid-'80s. The most expensive thing on the menu was $4.95, and that was a steak dinner.
Jeez.
Wow.
And and now that's about the size. That's about a price of a soda.
If that, I mean, you're looking at maybe a bottle of water or something like that. I mean, that's insane. Vicky, I know that.
$8.
I know. Well, I mean, for God's sakes. Vicky, when you look at ways to save money at the parks, obviously you have a lot of opportunities outside of Disneyland, Walt Disney World. It's a little harder to do that, but obviously there's still some ways to get around that. But when you have a large group, I know you've had 23 members of your family go down to Disneyland at one time.
Not quite that
recently.
Many. It was only like 12.
Oh, only 12. But I mean, you have to be very creative with your budgets. I mean, you literally have to say, okay, we have this amount of much to spend, and if we go $1 over, then we have to figure something out. But I mean, what are some things you have done in the past that have been creative?
Well, now I am a budget person. I love to make a budget, and I love to stick to it, and I'm kind of anal, so I'm one of those people. But anytime, because I have been guilty of buying those ridiculously expensive popcorn AT-ATs, and each one of the boys had to have one, and stupid me did it. But I digress. But rule number one is you have to resist the temptation for those things, because they are never going to be affordable anymore. They are never. I know I'm totally the pot calling the kettle black here, but
no, it's okay.
No.
It's okay. Let it all out.
Usually
this is
what I
good form
do is we set up guidelines. Like, we will do a dinner or a lunch at Wine Country Trattoria. Well, if we're going to do a lunch there, then that means we need to make sure that we have the free breakfast at the hotel, and I always select a hotel with a free breakfast, and that maybe we get a cheap dinner, maybe we get dinner outside of the park itself. And you just have to figure out what your give and takes are and stick with it, because they will get you. They see me coming.
Here comes Vicky.
Do the buffet early the day before and fill up a to-go box on chicken nuggets.
Was that Captain? That's like Captain Kids.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I think my stomach just turned thinking about that. Michelle.
Yes.
So I know that, when we were, in our younger years, we a lot of times would go to Disney and legitimately did it like on a tax return. We would get our tax return and we would, literally like, okay, we're going to do Disney.
We had a full church wedding with sit down dinner, DJ, dance floor, like 75 people, and we did it for $1,500. So
yeah, we did.
I obviously love a budget.
It was a Groupon. It was a buy one get one free.
It was not a Groupon. Anyway, don't ad lib.
No, it's actually for my brother. Buy one wedding for ours, he gets 3 free. Anyway, so
So yeah, we've done a lot of tax return. We've done a lot of, poor family vacations where we struggled for years before we kind of balanced everything out. Yeah. And going to Disneyland was definitely a big treat. In fact, that's all we ever did. My son always complained that's all we ever did. We didn't go anywhere else.
And he was disowned, and he's been disowned, and he's never been seen since. Yeah. So
so our first vacation initially, I mean, it's all about saving as much money as possible.
Yes.
When it was and those habits are still kind of hard to break. I'm still all about the Disneyland on the cheap. It's harder to do because of the cost of the tickets, obviously.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, the tickets themselves it's you have to sell a kidney, but you can eventually pay for it. But we used to use Getaway Today. Getaway Today had the best deal, and you had like $20 off the ticket prices, and then they had the bundle pricing with the hotel. And we always look for. So I mean, when we plan our budget vacation, the first thing we look for is the cheapest hotel that's not dingy, but cheapest hotel with free breakfast.
Yeah.
So that takes care of the meal part of it. Not to mention the fact that, especially in those days, and maybe a little bit now too, free breakfast might also carry over into snacks that we might have taken back to the room, as well as snacks we've taken to the park that came from free breakfast. So the Cheerios, when they had Cheerios, we put those in there, that kept the kids entertained. But the hotel pricing, what we've done now is the cheapest tickets, I mean, I would sit down every time we would go, and I would take the tax return amount. We had a couple thousand that we were able to spend on a vacation, and I would sit down and I would compare everything. Like we would buy like one ticket from AAA because they had free parking. So as long as we had one ticket with AAA, we had free parking the whole time we was there. They don't do that anymore, though. But that saved a lot of money. Then we would get the rest of them through our Getaway Today. Now we go through ARES Travel, ARESTRAVEL.com. That is the cheapest that we've been able to find for Disneyland. And then we found a website for Disney World, which actually has better discounts, but that's another story.
Well, and there'll be more like links. I mean, we'll put some links out on the page when we get done. We'll get into that in just a moment. But I want to follow up on one thing that we did. We would always have Devin, Michelle's son, our son actually. He's my son too.
Are we just?
No, it's yeah. Anyway, so he would have his friend join us, and we would do it on a budget, but we always wanted him to have a good time and have something memorable with his son, or with his friend. So his friend loved him to death. He married my cousin, loved him to death, like a son of mine too. But he would grow facial hair like super, super fast. He would grow it like incredibly fast. And to the point where it would be like he would be like 10 years old, but he would like not be as tall as a 10-year-old, but his facial hair looks like he's 17. So I mean, he clearly would have to shave his face every time we would have to go down there, and then we get looks like, well, you're not, like 11. Like, no, we're 9. It's okay, so. But, yeah, I mean, there's little tricks you can do. Obviously, you can't get away with that, especially now. But, but that kind of jumps into what Michelle's point was, starting with booking your trip. Now, obviously, you have your hotel you have to look at. You have to look at your tickets. You have to look at, well, it depends on what part of the country you are. If you're here on the West Coast, you may drive to Disneyland. Obviously, if you're going to go to Disney World from the West Coast, then you're not necessarily going to be driving unless you want to spend like a month in an RV or something like that. So, Trish, I'm going to start with you. I mean, what are some tricks that you've learned when you've booked your hotels, when you've gone through to Disneyland, Disney World, and all those other places?
Well, Expedia used to be really good because you used to be able to book your entire trip with Expedia. You used to be able to get your plane tickets, your hotel, the park tickets, your transfers to and from the hotel, from the airport to the hotel, and it was all bundled together at one price. And that was great. But now Disney doesn't deal with Expedia very much anymore. You can't buy your tickets there. It's kind of hard to find many places that sell Disney tickets anymore, except for a few websites and Disney themselves. You can get some good deals through Costco Travel, especially for Disneyland. Disney World, not so much. Disney World, they've changed. Now you can only stay at either the Swan or the Dolphin in Disney World if you book through Costco. You can't stay at any of the other hotels, which I think is really
that's
really
just weird.
Stupid.
It kind of limits your experience.
And honestly, when we did the whole Costco thing, I mean, just because the hotels that they picked, it wasn't really a bargain for us. Costco is always the least best deal that we could get on it. I would spend 2 weeks comparing everything. And Costco really wasn't the best because they had such expensive hotels attached to their packages that we were able to find something less.
Well, with Disneyland, it had better deals because it had all the good neighbor hotels. And
right.
I'm, for one, am willing to spend a little bit more to stay closer to Disneyland because I would rather stay at a hotel right across Harbor Boulevard and just walk across the street instead of having to go with the shuttles.
Park Place Inn.
the Parkview Inn or Tropicana Carousel that's being torn down. But all those right there are pretty decent because really all you need is a clean room and a bed, right.
And
shower.
Well, and that's another thing too because you look at the parking at Disneyland. It's like $17 right now. Obviously, parking.
It's 20.
Oh, it's 20. Okay, so
yeah,
pricing
unless
has gone
you want
up.
preferred parking, it's $35.
Oh God.
Okay, so what is preferred parking now?
They took a whole section of the parking structure, all the spots that are closest to the escalators and like on the first few levels, and made that preferred parking. And so that they could charge $35 for it instead of the $20.
Okay,
else.
So best bet. Well, best bet. If you want to do that, your best bet, honestly, is probably going to be rideshare, Uber, Lyft, or one of those, especially depending on where you are. If you're really, really close, but you don't want it, you're too lazy like me to get up and walk over, the quarter of a mile. You can just take like a ride share, and you're literally right there in front. And they have ride sharing drop-offs right in front where they have the terminals and everything, and it's a lot closer than parking inside the parking garage. Emily, I know you're down there.
The hotels we've been getting, though, we've always had free shuttles as well.
Well, some do, but I have been researching some of the hotels around Disneyland Park. We'll get to Walt Disney World here in a minute, but I've seen some things that they are no longer doing free shuttles. Now they're starting to charge you for those shuttles. But
of course, because they can.
They can absolutely. They can because they need their.
And they're also starting to charge you for parking your car at the hotel too,
yes.
which they didn't used to do.
Right. So it's basically the hotels just really saying, we got to get on this cash grab. And I mean, I still think maybe parking your car and just taking an Uber is still the cheapest option, but it depends on what hotel you get. You get the lower end hotels or you get the higher end hotels. Mm-hmm. No, Emily, I know you've talked a little bit about this. What are your thoughts on booking your trip through hotels? Or do you go through a site or do you just do it directly through the hotel itself?
I book through Disney, and I usually go with the Good Neighbor.
Yep.
So it's usually cheaper in the long run because I get the most for the money. Yeah, you can add things, delete things. If you watch and go into the options, you can usually there's silly things like if you plan to go to more than one park and you're going to be there for 4 days, you don't need a park hopper. Just go to Disneyland for 2 days and then go to Disney California for 2 days. You don't need the park hopper. It'll save you $50 a ticket.
Amen right there. Amen right there. And it all depends on your research because, one of those things too is when you are looking at your options for tickets, you want to look at what's going to maximize your dollar. Like, for example, Halloween, which is, we're going to talk about that in a second. You have parts of the park that are closed at Disneyland, not Disney's California, but Disneyland. So that park closes at 6 or 8 or something like that for the Mickey's Trick or Treat. So
sometimes as early as 4.
Depending on the time of year, or if it's like a Tuesday night or Wednesday night, they usually will do that. So everyone's going to head over to Disney's California. So if you do like just that 1 day ticket, you're better off maybe using that day just for Disney's California Adventure, where you can still maximize your time and take advantage of that. Vic, I know that with your yearly tickets, do you still do the annual pass?
I do have the annual pass this year, okay. And we are planning on doing it next year because of D23, but I don't know when Star Wars open up if I can pull that off anymore. Although my son will have graduated from college, so suddenly I'll feel rich.
So you're going to buy us all annual passes, is that right?
Sure.
Okay. I'm hooking you guys up.
My husband and my son are bald, so if anyone can pass as a bald dude who's a foot taller than me, you can come with me.
All right. I will get a razor right now. So
I will shave my hair.
All 6 of us come bald.
Hey, Michael. Yes. Another advantage to booking with Costco is that you get a free character dining.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Now, and you don't necessarily have to use it for a character dining. You get a voucher for every person in your party that's valued. I think when I did it the last time, it was valued at $42.
Okay.
So you can actually take that and use it at any of the restaurants in the park.
Right, and that's one of the parts that we'll talk about when it comes to things you can do inside maximizing your experience. We'll talk about the meals here in just a little bit. But Vicky, so basically, have you found it to be cheaper? Because I know you're down there a lot. I mean, do you find it to be overall? I'm not going to lie, you say, but do you notice that it's cheaper in the long run to do an annual pass, or is it?
If you're going to spend, I have found that between the discounts and everything else, on day 6, I start to make money, basically because everyone sends me down with money to, buy things, and I use my discount. But it's just the 10% off that I get by day 5. It's paid for itself. And if you did the pricing for a price hopper for 6 days, that's actually why we first did it. We used to always go for 7 days, and they had a 7-day pass, and then they went away. So the very first time we did an annual pass, I did the math, and the annual pass was a smidge more than a 5-day pass park hopper. So for us, because of the number of times we go, it suddenly became too cheap to not do an annual pass.
Yep.
Now,
we'll see next year.
What do you get as far as your benefits with an annual pass?
With an annual pass, you get 10% off virtually everything. That is food, that is souvenirs, that is both in Disneyland, California Adventure, and Downtown Disney. Plus, you get up to 20% off of any of the tours you want to do, and sometimes they have special AP days, where it's a day that this event, like they have movie premieres, or they do special showings, or you get discounts on things such as the Halloween party or some of the other special events, or you might get first in line to be able to get one of those. Right. So for me, it works out. For not everyone would necessarily work out that way. They're not all as nuts as I am.
Well, now, if you're in Southern California, and I think they still have this for a little bit longer, but it sounds like it's maybe going away, those Southern California pass holder discount or special offers.
They keep talking about taking it away, and the last time they did it, 2 years ago, there was such an uproar that they pretty much started backtracking, not by saying they were backtracking, but by taking off everything from the website saying that the passes were going away.
Yeah, I mean that's such a bad thing to do because you really you have people who come across the country and around the world to a Disney park, but you have to rely on a lot of times locals to get you into the park because locals know. I mean, Southern California. I grew up down there. Trish, I know you've been down there. I mean, you grew up down there. We all have our roots down in Southern California. It is just a zoo, and I mean Walt Disney World is probably not better.
I'm local Nevada.
Yeah, okay. So, well, you have roots. You've been to Disneyland quite a few times, so you're a Southern California native. I declare it. So, really, and I'll give you one extra little tip as well, too. One thing that we're going to be doing for our trip in December to Walt Disney World is I have airline miles through Delta. So, I'm going to take advantage of those airline miles. And
there you go.
And one flight will be free, and then I just pay for two regular passes. So instead of the airfare being about $1,700, it's only going to be about $1,100. So if you have miles and if you want to take advantage of that, look at it. Another option to have is the Disney card. The Disney card where you can the credit card where you have a lot of different special discounts involved. You have a lot of different elements with that. There's a lot of like 10% off your shopping. I think like 15% off your dinner or something like that. As long as you're making those purchases at the Disney park, you can take advantage of that too. So.
Well, and you get more points on your Disney credit card if you use it at a Disney location than you would, say, just going down the street to Chili's.
Right, exactly. So we're going to get into the next part here. It's going to be the best time to go. Rain, I'm going to start with you on this one. When is the best time to go at Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Paris, all that fun stuff?
My personal opinion would be right after the kids go back to school.
Amen.
About August, September, right before Halloween, toward that fall. Like August, September, that little area. And that's actually a good time to go for any. Because like, if you go on a Disney cruise, it's going to be summer and hot regardless of the time of year.
Right.
Disney... I like to go to Disneyland during the fall anyway, because that's when they set up all the Christmassy stuff, because they like to be like 7 months of the same season.
Mm-hmm.
They're crazy like that. Disney World, I've been reading that it's pretty dead during the fall. Like, there have been lines that were a max of an hour for everything, and that was it. You know? Yeah,
it's one of those, I mean, you look at, the lines. And, I mean, you brought up a very, very good point. Back to school. The danger in that, the best time to go, but the danger in that is that a lot of times when kids go back to school, especially and we're using Southern California because we just have a lot more roots down there, but we will talk about Walt Disney World too. A lot of times when you talk about Disneyland, when you go back to school, you have these groups like church groups or you have school groups that go to Disneyland for from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. And they're there for the whole day. So, I mean, I think that it's not a bad time of year for that. Me personally, I kind of like February. Just after just right after President's Day, not on President's Day. President's Day is actually, believe it or not, one of the more busier days of the entire year at Disneyland.
That's because it's a 3-day weekend.
It is a 3-day weekend. Mm-hmm. It is a 3-day weekend, but it's also in between spring break and everything should be back up and running with operation. Michelle, what's your favorite time to go?
Pretty much, I think Christmas at this point. I enjoyed pretty much. I liked going in the spring in April.
Right.
But after having gone at Christmas time, I enjoy Christmas the best.
Because you get that Christmas.
It's magical.
Yeah, it snows. It snows in California.
It doesn't snow. Well, yeah, I mean, it snows. But it's peppermint snow. It's peppermint snow. Yeah. So, I mean, being in Fantasyland, and when it starts to snow, I mean, it's not cold.
I know, everyone's wearing tank tops and it's snowing outside. Emily, what about you?
I don't know, it varies for me. I like to go in October when they change the Haunted Mansion to Jack Skellington, but I like to also go March, April, because my favorite ride is the Matterhorn, and they don't open it up until that time of the year. So.
Oh, okay.
But it's usually not crowded during those times either. It's considered like the off season, so if you hit it during the right time, usually it's almost almost empty for Disneyland.
Right, because right now you're in that part where I've noticed there's been a ton of grad night promotions. In case you're not familiar with what grad night is where they get a bunch of the schools around the area for special admittance. They've done this for 30-something years. This is not something that's brand new. And they only do it directly through Disney Parks itself. You can't find it on the website. From what I can see, there's nothing you can find on there. But they keep the park open till like midnight, 1 a.m. Sometimes they did it 2 a.m. when I was in high school. So it's pretty cool if you have a high school student that's graduating to have that opportunity because they do some.
And a couple years ago, they switched it where they closed California Adventure fairly early, like right at dusk. Mm-hmm. And only the grad night students have the wristbands. And everyone else gets kicked out, and they leave them over there, and then Disneyland stays open.
Yeah. Right, Pirates of the Caribbean 17 times in 30 minutes.
Damn straight.
Yeah, they've actually been doing grad night for almost since Disneyland opened.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
It's
my dad went did his grad night there in '66. So it's been doing it for a long time.
I had the opportunity to go in '96 and it was fun. My aunt did it in '87. It was just badass. So, Trish, what about you? What's your best time to go? What do you think is the best time to go to a Disney park?
Well, the Disneyland, right after the kids go back to school, is a good time, with the exception that it's the end of summer. A lot of rides go into refurbishment. So you're kind of trading a crowded park for certain rides being shut down. So February is a good time. I agree with you on that one. I went before in the beginning of February, and the park was freaking dead. I've never seen it that dead.
Yeah.
We're talking so dead that we went and rode Pirates of the Caribbean, and we had our own boat to ourselves, and no one in the boat in front of us was behind us. I mean,
that's spooky.
That is, it is kind of crazy.
I've been there when it's been like that.
Yeah, and Fantasmic. You know how usually they set up all the ropes and stuff to guide everybody, and it's insane when they do Fantasmic. No ropes, no nothing. There was like 60 people watching it.
See, I would love that.
God.
I would love that.
That kind of dead.
Vic, what about you?
I would sit there for every performance.
But with Disney World,
oh yeah,
I just went right after Thanksgiving, and it was awesome. I didn't find it to be that crowded, and the weather was beautiful. It was like 72 degrees, and
no humidity.
No humidity. Yeah. It was.
I am so looking. We're going December 1st. I am so looking forward to that because it's going to be snowy up here in northern Nevada. It's all cold. Meanwhile, I'm like, it's 72 degrees. I'm wearing shorts. It's just great. Yeah. What's it like during the evening? Is it like in the 40s, or is it kind of a chilly or something? Or
in the 60s.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Like 60s maybe. It might dip into the upper 50s, maybe, but I wouldn't even count on that. More like the 60s.
Oh, that's still. I mean, I'd still bring it like a light jacket.
What's funny is that Eddie and I were there, acclimated to Nevada. We were over there and we're in t-shirts and stuff, and everybody else over there has had like sweatshirts and jackets on and saying that it's cold.
I know. I always travel to Vegas every year around January I always travel to Vegas in January for stuff like that, and they're always like. They're always talking about different little things here and there as far as like things, to do and everything. And it's just crazy as far as like how like cold it gets down there, but you're still wearing t-shirts and stuff and everything. So, Vic, what about you?
Well, my favorite time to go is Christmas. And we used to historically go the first couple of weeks of December. But that was when my son was either in year-round school or the charter school he went to was very flexible. But since he's been in college, he's always doing finals during the first 2 weeks of December. So we've been going for the last 4 years the second week of January. We get there right as the Three Kings are being celebrated, and then everyone leaves.
Nice.
And it is a downside, though, that it is refurbishment. As soon as you pass some major milestone, whether it's Christmas or grad nights or spring break, things go into the refurbishment schedule.
Right.
And usually what I'll do is we'll drive down, we'll get there Sunday, and because we usually do a Sunday to a Saturday, and my husband and I will race. I will literally scoot to the park so I can do everything that's going to close the next day because Christmas is officially over that day.
Right. Exactly. Well, and that's thing too. I mean, that it's a lot of fun, and there's really not a bad time to go. It depends on your crowds and everything like that. So we've discussed, how you're going to get down there, where you're going to stay at, what's really the best time to go. So now, obviously, one of the big important aspects of saving money is the hotel. And now you can look at a Disney hotel, you can look at a Good Neighbor hotel, you can look at a hotel that's not considered quote unquote Good Neighbor. Michelle, I want to start with you on this because, you have hotels. We've done a lot of different savings throughout.
We've never done a Disney hotel or a Good Neighbor hotel. We've always done some other bonus hotel when we did Getaway Today. It would always be a different kind of hotel that was available.
Right.
But we've tried a lot of really nice ones, like the Ayers hotel that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And the one, unfortunately, it didn't have any. It was not next to anything like food-wise. So if you were walking, we happened to stay at this hotel that wasn't friendly, and we didn't have a car that one time. We went down there without Michael, just me and the girl. We went with some friends, and we stayed at the hotel there. But none of them were Good Neighbor hotels. They were just less expensive. Hotels.com or Expedia is what we've been using for the most part. Try to find the ones with breakfast. I think we paid I think it was like $45 or $50 a night, but it was within walking distance. We had to walk over to the garage shuttle.
Right. No, I think that was like the Travel Lodge or something like that we stayed at.
Yeah, it was nice. It wasn't the one across the street.
Right.
It was difficult because there was nothing to walk to. So it wasn't one of those places where you'd want to stay if you don't have a car.
You're right.
Like there was a little mini mart next to it, and that was it.
So, I know one thing that I know that when we've planned our trips before in the past is we've looked at, a lot of different things. We've looked at, what kind of amenities does the hotel have? Does it have breakfast? Which, the Travel Lodge, it was just a basic, had a little waffle maker in the room or, in the little breakfast thing. Where's the nearest Starbucks? That's a big, big thing, especially for us. But,
refrigerator. It has to have a refrigerator because when we have our car, we'll go and buy food and bring it back to the hotel.
So what amenities do you need? What amenities
some of the things we packed was we've done pre-cooked the hot dogs, and then we've eaten cold hot dogs for lunch. Pre-cooked chicken nuggets, we've cooked them and then packed them in ice or in the cooler. So we'd have cold chicken nuggets, chicken salad, sandwiches. Is some of the we feed ourselves. We don't eat at the park. We don't eat outside the park a lot. We pretty much eat on our own, and we pack our own lunches. So that's how we've saved a lot of money that way.
Yeah.
It was kind of out of necessity before, and now we just kind of still do it. We eat more in the park than we used to, but
right. Well, and
pretty much it had to have a refrigerator. So amenities, a refrigerator was huge.
Right. Now, obviously, and Rain, I'll get your input on this one too. What do you guys generally do when you guys are saving money and everything at the parks?
The G-Mom method. You ask your grandma what to pack, and then you pack it. So basically, my grandma goes to Disney with my mom and the younger of my siblings because they can, and, I work out in Reno now, and they're all in the California side. So G-Ma is usually in charge of the lunch, and they'll go to, Costco or something, the day before they leave. They'll pack a huge ice chest, and they'll fill it with, bananas and apples and bread, and, a huge thing of, bologna or peanut butter and jelly, and then they'll just smack that stuff together, and they'll make it in the room, and, it's so small to fit in a small bag that you can hide it in one of the little pockets. You could fit, 4 or 5 sandwiches in there, and, just take them with you, and that's the grandma method.
And it's also fun too. Whenever we've done the road trips, because we've never flown to Disneyland, we've always drove, or we've never flown, we've just drove. So we've always kind of stopped just outside of because we used to live in Reno, so we drive from Sparks, but we drive from Sparks all the way to. We used to do Bishop, but now we do. Was it Bridgeport, Michelle?
No, we've been stopping in Bridgeport since the beginning. Because we stop at Bridgeport. There's a park right off the side where they do their annual. It's a really small town, and they have 4th of July celebrations. There's this really big centennial type park. There's a museum. There's a playground. And especially when the kids were little, we would stop there. They have picnic tables. We'd hard boil eggs. Again, the chicken salad was like, chicken salad's like the main staple. It was like, it used to be like a luxury to have chicken salad. Peanut butter and jelly was like so it was kind of like the best part of it was like having a little extra of having the chicken salad because we didn't eat that all the time.
Right.
But we'd eat there, hard-boiled eggs. We'd make the sandwiches out of the back of our car. And Bridgeport was the nicest place because it wasn't super busy. It's right there, right off the road. You can hop in, you can hop out. The kids could run around and get some of that energy out, which is really necessary. We don't fly a lot because I didn't like to fly. I still don't, but I do if I have to. Like, we're flying to Florida. So for Disney World, I'm flying to Florida. But I appreciate the drive a lot better. So as far as like stopping along the way, there's lots of little things. The drive down from Nevada down to Southern California is actually a great drive. As long as you don't take I-5, 395 is a beautiful drive.
Yes.
And there's jerky and there's little roadside things. I mean, there's plenty of things to see and do.
It is a beautiful
there's
drive.
Also
I was just going to say, it's a beautiful drive, especially when you're sleeping the whole way. It is gorgeous.
Well, it's not a beautiful drive if you're doing it at night. It's actually scary as hell.
It is very scary.
There are definitely spots it is.
See, like when I'm driving, making that drive, it's one of those things where I just want to get there. I want to get there, which a lot of it is true because I just want to get home or I just want to get down there. But literally, and I don't drive. I don't make those drives. Michelle drives, but I don't. It's not that. The control thing or whatever, but it's really like when it's anxiety. It's anxiety to not just to do that, but it's like in that darkness. I mean, Trish, you just brought up a very, very good point. That drive, but Emily, I want to ask you.
The darkness driving can be bad. I hit a crow. I hit a crow and I hit a rock.
Well, the rock was during sunset, and of course we did see the Hills Have Eyes and the
that's what I wanted to bring up was the hills. So no, I need to tell the Hills Have Eyes story because there is a spot when you're going down 395 and you see there's people have stacked rocks.
Ridgecrest.
And that's the first part.
I love Ridgecrest.
Yeah,
first of all,
so
you
do
see
Celery Killers too.
And the way we leave, the time we leave, we usually hit it right around the time before just the sun is kind of setting, like twilight. So you see these little stacked rocks out there, and the sun is like just lighting up the mountains, but the roads are shadowed a little bit. And we're driving along that area. We just get past those stacked rocks, and out in the middle of nowhere, there's nothing else around us at all. There's a giant tent, and it says "Revival Today." That's it. There's nothing. There's nothing out there. Nobody out there. Not even a close town, and it's just this giant tent. So you know that somebody's dying in there. You know that they're taking them off to the hills to bury them. And it was just crazy to see it. So it was completely after the Hills Have Eyes. I'm like, they're just taking them off. They're looking for people. This is how they suck them in. The holy people are the ones who are going to get killed the most because they want to be saved. But
that part of the drive that's like right after the Mojave Desert. And you're going through those they're almost like little ghost towns. And it's so spooky, and exactly, the banjos are playing exactly. You're just like, please don't break down. Please don't break down. I don't want to get killed or raped. Please don't break down.
Actually, my funniest story in that area was we were doing a turbo trip 2 days in the park for Halloween. And so we left work right after work on Thursday, and we were driving all night. We get to just past Big Pine, and they were redoing 395. So suddenly the road comes to a standstill. And it's just us in our little car and 5,000 truckers sitting for an hour before it was our turn to go. We got to the hotel at 5:05 a.m.
It's actually one of the reasons I actually prefer to go down I-5. I don't like to drive through 95 because I find it too scary, too spooky.
And you don't find I-5 scary and spooky?
No.
Oh, I-5 is just dead and bleh. Like there's nothing. We did
that
once.
It's easier.
Emily, which way do you go? Do you take I-5 or do you do 395?
I take my husband and he drives.
So Emily is Michael, and what she's saying is that she sleeps.
Yeah.
And wakes up in Disneyland.
And yells at the kids to be quiet and quit throwing things and don't hit your brother and quit poking your sister and no, we don't eat our boogers.
No, we're not there yet.
Then you're not Michael, because Michael just goes to sleep.
I go to sleep and I let Michelle. And then, of course, when we have our friend Erin rides with us, she loses her voice, or Michelle loses her voice, and always losing her voice.
Well.
Yeah.
I lost my voice on... Yeah, don't ever lose your voice around Michael, because he's really not nice about it.
I'm a dick.
Oh!
Yeah. I am a massive
Good
dick.
to know.
I have no... I'll be like, what's that? I couldn't hear you. What? Anyway, so...
I screamed on Space Mountain. I screamed so loud that I damaged something. I woke up the next day. I couldn't even muster a whisper.
Best
I could say nothing. So obviously he saw his opportunity to really get his licks in because I couldn't really fight back. And he was making comments, and Erin was translating my hand movements for me, telling me, like, so she would be like, so I would, like, do this thing at, like, my hands, and she'd be like, shut up, Michael.
She kept flipping me off. I didn't know what that was all about. She kept flipping me off.
Yeah, so, I mean, I had to pretty much sign without knowing much sign language, and, of course, he wouldn't have figured it out anyway. But, yeah, and Devin did the same thing. Devin was 11 or 12 at the time.
That's my boy.
And he just loved it, too. They were horrible. They were just horrible.
It was fun. So Emily, when you're looking at hotels, I mean, what are some things you look at as far as like in the hotel, around the hotel? Generally, what do you look for when you're going down to Disneyland?
Free parking, free breakfast, and a block away.
See, you're a simple kind of girl. That's.
I like the way she thinks.
I know. Trish, what about you? I know you have a lifetime membership to all the hotels around the Disney parks, including Disneyland itself. So I know. So what do you do?
Same thing. I look for if we're going to drive, free parking. Hopefully they have a free breakfast and as close as we can be, so we can walk it. But one of the things we do, though, if they don't have a free breakfast, we actually will bring our own breakfast. Even if we fly, I'll take a refrigerated bag, throw an ice pack in there.
Oh,
throw in some.
She showed me that at the last trip we were on, Michael. We need to talk about that after the podcast. We need one of those.
So, let's talk about it now. So
yeah, you take a refrigerated bag and you put in, like cream cheese and whatever other refrigerated stuff, and then you just pack it in your suitcase.
Now, how long
is
that good for? Like when you put it in like in a freezer or something like that?
Oh, it's good for at least 5 hours or so.
Okay.
And I mean, it's only an hour.
Well, I mean, because like for us, I'll use us as an example. Because we're flying out from Reno to Orlando, and I mean, I'm looking at flights, and it's like
that'll be too long.
That'll be too long.
It would be too long.
Okay.
But
I did look. They have some that have like battery packs or something that can keep them cool.
Yeah, they do make things like that too.
Yeah. And if you go with the medical grade blue ice, if you know anyone who gets medical supplies, because that's what we do. We get them from my father-in-law, and then they're actually good for about 12 hours.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
But also, what you can do is in Disney World, you can actually have groceries delivered to your hotel.
Yes. And same with some hotels in Disneyland.
Yes.
Do they charge like $80 for like frozen spaghetti or something like that, or is it like legitimate like produce?
No, it's like legitimate food.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a small delivery fee. But
because I wouldn't mind like if there was like if you're doing like a week or two or something like that down at the Disney parks. I mean, like finding like a hotel that's got like a kitchen in it with stuff like that. Maybe make your own dinners. I mean, yeah, you still have to pay for money up front. You got to make sure you eat it all. But
here's something that a lot of people don't know. Inside the Grand Californian, which you can go into the Whitewater Snack Shack, it's by the pool. Mm-hmm. They actually have a little grocery section.
Really?
Where you can buy bagels and fruit and all different kinds of stuff, and they only charge you grocery store prices for it because that's all they're allowed to.
No, that's smart. Real smart.
There's also though, if you leave the park, there's like I think 3 blocks away, we found a 99-cent store. And for people who don't live where there's 99-cent stores, it's like, I love 99-cent store. I'm obsessed with 99-cent store. They have produce like you wouldn't believe, and it's 99 cents. And it's all really good stuff. Sometimes, in fact, all the time better than the Walmart produce. and it's only 3 blocks from Disneyland.
Wow.
So you can go over there and get like all the fresh fruit and everything, and
it's like a superstore.
Stock up on that for like $10.
It's like a superstore in there too. The 99.
It's twice the size of the 99-cent stores that we have here. So the one they have there is a lot bigger than the ones we have here in Nevada.
Right. Vicki, what about you?
For hotels, I fall in line with everyone else. I prefer close enough to walk. I prefer free breakfast, free parking. And sometimes I've tried new hotels as they've come out. I was looking at my list, and there's about 20 different hotels I've used since 2001, and I kind of have my favorite now, which is actually the Marriott Residence on Clementine.
Okay.
It's half a mile from the front. It's a full kitchen, and since we go for a week, that's kind of a big deal.
Right.
And it's free parking, free internet, free breakfast. And I am a Marriott Silver member, so that kind of helps too.
Oh, nice.
But I want a place that gives me whatever I need for that particular trip. So I have stayed other places that were closer. And yes, I have stayed at the Paradise Pier 5 times since 2001, but I can no longer afford to do so.
Yeah, and they used to be.
It's buy the ticket or stay at the Park Hotel.
They used to be they used to be like a value Disney resort. Now they've gotten to like Disneyland hotel pricing. It's just insane.
Yes,
what's been going on down there?
I mean, I even looked for our off time options for the next couple of months, and I cannot believe how much compared to any other hotel. Even the Paradise Pier, which is the cheapest of the 3, is. You still, even with my annual pass, they still want $300 a night, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Can't happen.
Right. Now, this next one probably won't be on it for too long, so we'll kind of make our answers kind of short. Obviously, you have... Okay, so you've got your hotel, you got your tickets, you got your airfare / car. We've figured out, okay, when's the best time to go? Now you want to dress like you're at Disney. So, Rain, I'm going to start with you. Where do you go get your Disney clothes on the cheap?
On the cheap. Let's see. I found here in Reno we have a Savers, and they've got some pretty cute dresses that I can buy at like 5 times my normal size and cut up and kind of change into the way I want them to work. You know, Disney bound tutorials exist, YouTube, all that fun stuff. That's the cheapest way to go. And just like getting like a basic idea of the costume, like not exact, but like which one did I do recently? There was an Ariel one I helped a friend do, and it was just basically it was a white shirt and a black skirt. Oh, it was my Hortensia one I did, and it was a pink shirt and a black skirt, and that's all it was.
Oh, okay.
And it was a huge hit.
So pretty basic stuff. Yeah, I mean, and you can do stuff like that, find stuff at thrift stores. Michelle, I know you venture at the 99-cent store. I know we've seen Disney stuff at the 99-cent store, but what else have you seen and found that has been on the cheap for getting your Disney clothing?
Well, there's a thrift shop that I'm not going to tell anybody where it's at because it's my favorite place. I don't want you guys taking my stuff. But there is a thrift shop that is not too far from me that always has some really nice stuff and always has a lot of name brand Disney items. There also is the JBF sales, and I know that those are national. And JBF
just between friends.
Just between friends. So when you're talking about kids' clothing or kids' supplies or accessories, I mean, we go to the JBF sale, and they have a lot of Disney stuff. Those things are priced by the people like us who are just selling their stuff, so it's a little bit higher than garage sale pricing, but some people really do price them really nicely. And on the last day of the sale, everything that they marked, like most of the stuff that they've marked, will go half off. So we got a pair of Disney ears from JBF, I think, for $2.
And for anyone who
like
is
the official ones,
and I know,
and then Disney outfits, we did Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique on our own without taking her to Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. I think we bought our Disney dress. It was a Cinderella gown for like $5, and then glitter spray. Bought that at Halloween, and then we bought the little tiara online, and we did it for under $20 to
now,
do the whole princess look and put her hair up in the bun.
For anyone who is interested, where do they go for JBF info, maybe in their local area?
I think if you just Google Just Between Friends consignment sale,
Mm-hmm.
you can find one anywhere. I don't know. I think that the Reno one just happened, or it's about to happen.
It happened. I thought it was May 5th and 6th, wasn't it?
Okay, so if you're in the Reno area,
Yeah,
May 5th
it wasn't.
and 6th,
It was
happened.
recent, but it happens twice a year. The next one, they do vendor. I get the emails for all of this stuff, but they have the vendors and stuff that they add to it. So there's little things while you're in line, and the lines can be really long, but you're getting a lot of good stuff. Also, I mean, here locally, and I'm sure that other places do it too, they also have the mothers of twins, and then there's the doctor's wives sales, and a lot of those sales will have a lot of really nice high-end Disney products. But Savers, we did get a really nice sweatshirt, one of the Disney sweatshirts for our daughter, with the rhinestones that was probably, I think when I looked at the pricing, it was $60 brand new, and I got it for like $5.
Yeah, queen cheap. Emily, what about you? I know that you generally like to do a lot of cosplaying, and you generally try to find some good deals. What do you do?
I shop the sales at Hot Topic online.
Oh.
I'll shop eBay. I will go and shop spirit stores after Halloween because they usually have like what's called skater dresses of characters, which you can modernize and use, and Disney can't stop you from wearing those because they're not technically a cosplay.
Yep.
Right, as long as you're, of course, not wearing a mask, so you're fine there. Yeah, I mean, Halloween, people forget about that. People forget that, a lot of these stores do have Disney stuff, and when it's November 1st, that stuff generally starts at 50%, and then they need to get that stuff gone, like, fairly quick, so, like, by the 3rd, it's, like, gone. They're pretty much done with their sales, so.
Oh, yeah.
Trish, what about you?
Yeah, that's why I tell people to go to when we had a Disney store, go to the Disney store after Halloween to buy like the princess dresses and the other costume pieces for the kids for when you take them to Disneyland, because the princess dresses are ridiculous in the park.
Yes.
They're like $80,
they're
$100
insane.
bucks. It's insane. So yeah,
Even the Disney store.
And they aren't in my size.
Nope.
But
I miss the Disney store.
JCPenney's actually sometimes has some really good Disney shirts, and sometimes you find them half price.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because Disney and JCPenney entered an agreement a couple years ago where if you didn't have a Disney store in your area, they would have like a Disney store mini, kind of like one of those. I think it's Ulta or some makeup place where you go into JCPenney and you can,
Ulta.
Ulta. Okay, yeah, you can get like stuff like Disney stuff.
No, it's not Ulta. It's Sephora.
Oh, Sephora, that's
Sorry,
right.
you said Ulta.
No, I was thinking like the makeup place. But yeah, you can go. I mean, they don't have like a Disney store inside the local area mall anymore. The nearest one's out in Sacramento, which I'm saying road trip. Anyway, but no, I mean, but yeah, I mean, they have these deals, so you just kind of have to be, just see what's available in your local mall. Vicky, what about you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Another place that you can find Disney shirts sometimes is on Groupon.
Yes.
I've seen them on there too, where they're like $5.
Now, what about the one that's near Disneyland Park? I know Disneyland Park has like that little store that's
Character Warehouse.
Yeah,
they closed it.
Okay, so don't go there. Okay, because you go, so you won't be getting anything. Vic, what about you?
Well, for me now, I have the added bonus of being 4'11", and I'm petite in height, but not in boobs, and so I have to be more creative.
Whoa.
Hey, that was a rated G word. Come on.
There's nothing bad about boobs. Get over it.
I know. I'm just kidding.
No,
Boys, they're
I don't
so
find
weird.
boobs offensive at all.
No. I'm
No, I
just.
usually-
You've got boobs
What
too,
a
Michael.
guy.
He's got boobs too.
Wow.
Oh, Lord.
Tell you, rough crowd.
I'll tell you what, if we get 500 likes on the Facebook page, on the DisneyVerse Podcast page, I will post Michael's moob picture.
Okay, we want people.
Pay for that.
No, we want people to come to the page, not to leave the page. So that,
No, they want to see it because he looks like he's breastfeeding the dog. It was hilarious.
Oh my God.
Hey, me and the dog were cold. Okay. I mean, listen, when me and the dog are cold, things just tend to get. I mean, we get cold.
Yeah.
I mean, me and the dog we cuddle. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a couple of stores that I shop online, including fullbeauty.com. They actually do have some Disney clothes, and I will do them at the clearance. I will do the Spirit Store at the clearance. I do Amazon, eBay. I do cosplay, not just for Disney, but also for my science fiction addictions. And so I kind of have to create the cosplay that looks like it suggests the costume. So I've also been able to get away with that in Disney because I look like Snow White because I got yellow and blue and I got the cute little ruffles, but I am not in a costume.
Right.
So
no, and that's all important. And of course, anyone's listening to this, you're probably like, "Oh my God, I have to remember all these links." At the very end, we'll post this episode, and then we'll do a follow post, putting all of our links via categories and everything. So everyone's going to do that. So, ladies, if you guys are definitely following the links and everything, make sure you're writing all this down. So, all right. So, hey, guys,
we're going
to have a moob. We're going to have the moob category. Just make sure you add under M for the man boob.
All right. Well, anyway, so, hey, guess what? So now we've got our hotel, we got our tickets, we got our airfare car, we know when we're going to go, we know what's around the park, we're dressed up. Now we got to figure out what we want to bring into the park and what you can and cannot bring into the park. There's a lot of things, so ladies, if you can condense this just a little bit. Michelle, I'm going to start with you. What are some things that we can get away with by bringing into the park and not into the park?
Pretty much everything. I mean, we brought our food in. I mean, we are strong believers in getting a locker, so you can put pretty much anything in the locker. So for food, and you just get the coolers for food. You can bring your food, you bring your sweaters, you may bring your chargers, your bottled water. I mean, as far as I can tell, the only thing we can't bring in is liquor.
Well, that is...
And wagons. We can't bring in wagons.
Well, you can't bring tow behind. You can bring huge wagons that more than likely will get stolen. But
if you bring your wagon and you drive 8 hours with kids in the car and you stuffed your trunk with a wagon and a bunch of suitcases, they will send you back to the parking lot with it. So don't bring wagons that you pull behind you.
Jesus. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, but no wagons. They won't let you bring wagons in.
No wagons. You know, another thing you can bring in too is empty water bottles. And it's not. Maybe you can bring like the plastic water bottles as well too. You can probably get away with that.
Any water bottles we brought.
Yeah, you can bring full ones. You don't have to be
exactly. They're fine with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we bought special water bottles to bring, and everybody on the trip got their own water bottle for the trip with the little built-in straws so they would refill throughout the park, so that they didn't get sodas or anything like that.
Right. Rain, what about you?
We do the backpack method, and it's basically we bought a water backpack, like a little Camelback, but it was like an off-brand, so it wasn't as expensive. And that little sucker will last all day. And we basically take a Disney bag, and we fill that with ice, and then we tie it up, and then we take the water bag, and we put it in with the ice, and we fill that up with water. And then we just go to every restaurant and say, "Oh, can we have 12 cups of iced water?" And they give it to us.
That is correct, because I know Pizza Port will do that. In fact, Pizza Port sometimes will give you you buy a soda that's like $9 or $10, and then you get free refills as long as you provide your receipt during the day. As long as you keep going over there and keep doing it. I think they still have that. Emily, what about you?
I bring in things like wipies and money.
They might need that, yeah.
Yeah.
They might
want
want
to bring
that.
the stroller and make sure I have a little blanket. Oh, don't forget your sunscreen. Lots of sunscreen.
Lots of sunscreen.
We always forget sunscreen.
And also, I will highly suggest bringing in a backpack that is waterproof, because you will more than likely go on a water ride that might get you a little bit wet, i.e. Splash Mountain or Grizzly River Rapids.
Yeah.
And also a separate battery charger for your cell phone. I've come to realize those things are extremely important.
If you don't bring your own chargers, they have places to plug in. but it's expensive,
Yeah.
and that's gonna eat into your budget.
Absolutely.
They're always busy.
I know.
And split plate fees at the restaurants. That's something. I mean, as far as like saving money, you don't have to order like a full meal. You can do split plates at like Blue Bayou.
Boy, you must have read my little cheat sheet, because that's actually after this. We're going to talk about little hidden food and drink tips at the park. So, Trish, what about you?
I thought I was doing Disneyland on the cheap.
I know, and that's what we're doing. So, Trish, what about you? What some things you sneak in there, and keep in mind, edible marijuana does not count. So, what do you usually bring in? Just kidding.
Oh. I'm sending her the moob picture just for that one.
Actually, that's what I bring in. No, seriously, what do you bring in usually into the park?
Well, we bring a backpack as well, and we'll take juice boxes, and we'll take one and put it in the little freezer section of the refrigerator, and get it frozen solid, and put that in the bottom of the backpack with the other juice boxes, and that keeps them cold. And that one slowly defrosts during the day. And so then either you can have it like as a slushie, or you can just wait for it to defrost, but then it keeps everything cold without having to bring in an ice pack.
Right.
And we also bring extra Ziploc bags, because if you think your backpack might be waterproof, but it might not be. So we always put our cell phones and anything else important into a Ziploc before going on the water ride.
Very good idea. That's a good idea.
We do the waterproof backpack and the Ziploc bags.
Yeah, double layer of security.
Because you just never know, and you don't want to take a chance.
Absolutely. Vic, what about you?
Well, I have the advantage of using a wheelchair, and I take a scooter. And so we have a backpack, and in it we have ponchos for the wet rides, baby wipes, sunscreen, hidden money. We have chargers. We have charging cables. We bring the hand warmers for when we're there and it's cold at night. And I have a whole list of things that I take, and they all go in this backpack that goes on the back of my scooter. And I include snacks and other things in there, too.
And shout wipes are a good thing, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, those things are killer.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Also, a hat.
I missed that one.
Shout wipes, in case you get something on your clothes.
Yeah.
Oh, shout. Okay.
Yeah, so like
shout
those little
okay.
pen, like a little pen or something.
I thought
like
you
that.
said shot wipes. I'm like, what is a shot wipe?
It's the new
I heard
alcohol.
snot wipes.
It's the new snot wipes. Well,
No, that's the butt wipes and the
So-
snot wipes.
yeah, that's
If
actually,
we heard it, I mean, with clarification, so shout it out type shout.
shout it out.
Shout wipes.
So Michelle, you were talking about the split plates. Obviously, we're looking for some hidden food and drink tips at the Disney park. You talked a little bit about the split plate option. You're probably referencing Blue Bayou, but what are some other things that you find, little hidden food and drink tips that you find at the park?
Well, obviously, I mean, nobody else knows that. Well, some of you might know this already, but I'm pretty much a creature of habit. So I really do love going to. That was Trish. I know that was Trish that outdoor. I like to do the same things. We have done Blue Bayou more than anything, and honestly, I mean, we've done. I think that the least expensive as far as meals in the park. My favorite is I don't know what it's called now anymore. It's the saloon in the countryside.
Golden Horseshoe?
Golden Horseshoe.
The Golden Horseshoe. Thank you. I've lost words. I lost words. And they're fairly inexpensive for park food. I mean, we don't really do much in the way of park food. I know a lot of people like the Mexican restaurant. It's not my favorite.
I love that place.
Oh, see, I
adore
not
that
my
place.
favorite. We've never eaten there.
The
Michael may
bird,
have snuck off
I
and had it.
sneak
but-
over there every chance I get the
And I know
birthplace of the Doritos.
Terry was on here before, but the split plate fee, we've done the Blue Bayou. That's always been part of our budget, even when we were super poor. And we did it with the tax return. Blue Bayou was kind of one of those, like, that was the splurge.
It's a must, yeah.
On top, that was the splurge meal, but we did the split plates because the pricing is really, it's Disneyland. That's self-explanatory. So the split plate fee was a lot less expensive, and then of course we celebrate birthdays. Even if it's not our birthday, we celebrate. So
Absolutely.
We get our little Mickey Mouse, a little Mickey Mouse dessert, and That's like one of the very few things left in the park that's free.
Yeah, Blue Bayou will actually do that. Blue Bayou, if you just say it's your birthday.
Actually, a lot of them will.
Yeah.
A lot of the sit-down ones, they will do that for you.
Speaking of sit-down, one news I do want to mention real quick, I don't know if you at least heard about this, but Disney World is going to, now at all their sit-down restaurants, serve alcohol.
Finally, they heard our cries.
I know.
You know what, though? I can see the positives and the negatives on that. I mean, there's a puke problem there.
Yes.
If some people get a little bit too much, I mean, those rides, you might be in front of that person.
Right,
well, you would see it at the dance parties in Disneyland back when they used to do those electric dance parties, you know, whether it was Alice or Tron or whatever. And somewhere around, I don't know, 10 p.m., certain areas of the California Adventure really started to stink.
Yeah, it's just... there is that puke
and it's
factor.
Like, oh yeah, there it is. I don't like that. No.
Rain, what about you? What some little hidden food and drink tips do you have?
Oh gosh, I don't think I have any. I think everybody covered most of all the fun ones.
Well, you can always just repeat it. You know, it's not a big deal.
That's split plates and freaking what are they called? Do the one-person buffet, fill up a box with nuggets deal. That's the best one to do.
We're not talking about Captain Kids, are we? Because
I mean, God.
No.
I'm going to tell you all right now. I hope we all agree that none of us are going to be going for their endorsement anytime soon. If you want to be sick,
that's it. No, like Storybook Cafe in the morning, they have breakfast and they have. For some weird reason, they always have mac and cheese and chicken nuggets out at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Why not?
So
that's why we don't know about it.
And then, of course, at the Matterhorn, they have the turkey legs. I love the turkey legs over there.
Yeah.
That takes me 2 hours to eat that thing. I'm so disgusted when I'm eating it, but it's so good. Love it.
We usually split it among the four of us.
No, I got to eat it all. That's only fair. Emily, what about...
It's okay.
I know. Emily, what about you?
I'm sorry, what? I totally lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. When I brought up turkey legs, I know it was going to lose everybody.
Just confused everybody.
I know. What the hell? What are some of your hidden food and drink tips at the park? I mean, are there some things you find that you can save a bunch of money on, or there's just some things that you just like get that can kind of prolong your eating?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I never used to take food in because I always thought that it wasn't allowed. But last time I went, last month, I took in Lunchables and all kinds of crap, and they didn't even stop me.
No.
Yeah, you can take it.
And I didn't know that. So I was like, we took in all kinds of cheap stuff. You know, Lunchables are cheap, and Capri Suns, you can buy those by the box for cheap, and you know, basically just overdose your kids on sugar so that they crash out when you drive home. You know, that's kind of what we do when we go in there. Nothing too special, but it was I'm a newbie at it, I guess. Not at Disney, but just at the food park.
Can you imagine the amount of people, like, if they bring in, like, because I know people brought in, like, sandwiches, and there's a picnic area outside of Disneyland, but, I mean, imagine the people who bring in their food, and then imagine the people who bring, like, gourmet meals, like, they bring, like, 3 large one-topping pizzas into the park, or at least they're trying to. What's that?
You don't want to eat greasy food. That'll make you sick.
Oh, no, but I was just saying, it's like, you know, like, some people are like, okay, you know, we're just going to bring sandwiches in, you know, we can't bring, like, full-fledged, you know, meals, and then some people will bring like a 12-piece chicken meal from like KFC and you know doing all that. I mean, I can just imagine.
KFC's not bad, but I mean, we brought our leftovers. We've eaten outside the park. We went to the ESPN zone, and I had leftovers, and I brought those back to put those in the locker.
Even some tailgating out in the parking lot. Get some tailgating going on.
Yeah, we didn't actually talk about other than Captain Kids, which we shouldn't have. But I'm eating.
Do not give them free advertising.
No, but actually, it's kind of like those sugar-free gummy bears on Amazon. You've been warned. We'll hear about your review, you know. But we do eat. We take the monorail into downtown Disney, and they've got the the Earl of Sandwich, which is one of my favorites and probably the least expensive in downtown Disney.
Of course, that'll be closed in a couple weeks.
It will be.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
They're going away.
Yes.
However,
there is one in Disney Springs, so when we go to Disney World, I know that I can get my fix.
Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about Disneyland.
And there's Rainforest Cafe, there's ESPN Zone, there's pizza places.
They're all going away.
They're all going
They're
away.
all going away.
They're all going away.
The movie theater, as a matter of fact, Han Solo is the last big movie that's going to be opening at the AMC before it gets torn down. I was supposed to be there on Friday.
They're going away with that.
I thought they were making it like Disney Springs in Florida. So that's not the plan? Or?
No, they're
actually... they're going to put another hotel there.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
well, shoot.
I mean, that's the thing, because Disney Springs is like this huge... I mean, we haven't talked much about Disney Springs. I mean, Disney Springs has a ton of dining options inside
the world's largest Disney store ever.
Yeah.
Not that I'm excited about that or anything.
I just like the Raglan Road. I like. So
you're
Irish
taking what?
Another
suitcase just to put the stuff in?
Maybe.
we'll figure things out.
Maybe. Trish, I was going to say,
here's the thing about Disney properties and Disney Springs, though. They let you shop and then send it back to the hotel.
Yes.
Well,
so
you
that's
can do
the only
that with
downside.
Disney hotels in California too. The only
when
difference
it's out
is
of
it's
sight,
only 3.
You don't know how much you've been buying.
Yeah, that's always the problem.
You go to pick it up, and then you're like, wow. I gave away clothes the last time I was there. I was there for a convention, and I was posting in our business group. I said, I've got a dress, and I've got all this clothes.
Oh, dear
I
God.
need to make room in this bag. So that I can take them home. So I was giving away my clothes, and then another one that lived close by, she mailed me some of my favorites.
That's the way to do it.
My clothes. I didn't leave my Disney stuff, but I left my clothes.
No.
And she mailed it back to me so that I'd have room in my bag.
Nice.
What now, Trish? What about you? What are some things that you like? Some hidden things have you done?
Well, I mentioned the Whitewater Snack Shack before.
Right.
They have the best nachos.
Oh.
Not Joe cheese either.
Nachos, yeah.
Oh.
This was a while back. I was actually staying at the Grand Californian because they had an amazing deal on their hotel rooms, and so
I miss those days.
I figured, why not? Well, we went to the hotel early one night, and we hadn't had dinner, so we went in there to get something, and I saw nachos for $10, and I was like thinking, oh well, what is it really going to be for $10 at Disney? You know, I mean,
it's like three chips and
you'll get like a bag of chips that store bought and a little cup of cheese sauce. You know, maybe if you're lucky, a little bit of salsa. And I was hungry, I didn't care. And well, the guy asked me, well, do you want chicken or beef? And I said, I don't know. So I just paid for it and left and went up to my room. Well, imagine my surprise when I opened it and it was like this big, huge pile of like homemade chips, and it was like grilled, perfect, a huge pile of homemade guacamole and homemade salsa, and I was like, this is the best nachos I've ever had. And so now every time we go there, we have to go there and have it, and it's like $10 and it's enough for 2 people.
All right,
Sweet.
So I will be going there in February when we make our Disney excursion.
We will be going there in February.
That's right.
The nachos.
That's right. Well, no, you get your own nacho cheese. I'll get my own nachos.
You guys will not be going there when we're doing other stuff.
Oh,
absolutely. You would never dare leave us and go to Disneyland without us, right?
I plan on joining them, please.
No, they're all. I mean,
Trish has no concerns about whether or not she leaves and goes to Disneyland without me. But
the husband might be facing some serious damage.
It's worth.
One of you's got to come home with me.
It's worth the risk. It's worth the risk.
But one of the other things I like to have there is the chicken dinner at the plaza.
Oh yeah.
And that's enough for 2 people. You buy like 2 side salads and 1 chicken dinner. Yeah. And that's plenty of food for 2 people.
It's like it's like the Knott's Berry Farms counter to the Mrs. Knott's famous chicken dinner, which, by the way, is still, I think, the best chicken dinner in all of Southern California. Just my personal opinion.
It's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Vicki, what about you?
Well, My secret's not really much of a secret, but I don't eat a lot, unlike my husband and son. So there was a few years back, I was like, could I just have a kid's meal? I'm not going to eat that much. And they said yes. And so ever since then, all I eat is kids' meals.
See, we'll do that too. Like when we go to Fuddruckers and eat, we'll just get kids' meals. If you guys know what Fuddruckers is, it's build your own burger. I love that place. I don't like the one that that's out in one part of town, but there's one that's like you would think of the least expected place. It's in a truck stop, but that one is just, their one is so much better than the other ones. It's just amazing to me. So, by the way, also.
That's because Luther sold it.
Well, yeah, it's true. But one thing just want to mention real quick, if you're not really wanting to go off property, one thing to look at is maybe doing one of the Disney meal plans. It is a little bit more in price, but it is giving you the option of basically having, you can have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a couple snacks, and a couple drinks throughout your park visit. So, and also sometimes depending on the plan, they have a dessert as well. And Disney, Trish, didn't you say that Disney World has free dining for kids with an adult purchase?
Only on certain times of the year. You have to look for it. Usually it's not during the busy times. It's, they use it as a way to draw people into coming during the off season. But yeah, they have it so that kids have free. Or actually, sometimes it's even everybody eats free. They have free dining for everybody.
Wow.
You just have to check it. Like when you guys go, it'll probably be free dining. You might want to check on that.
We might have to check that out.
Yeah.
So, last but not least, and this is a really important one, is maximizing your park experience. Now, there's so many different things you can get for free at the park. You can do for free at the park. It doesn't have to necessarily cost money. It's just the experience of it. Michelle, I want to start with you. What are some things that you like doing to maximize your experience at Disneyland or pretty soon Disney World?
Wait, what? Say that again?
Okay, we're skipping you. Maureen, what about you?
No, wait. What? Say that, no.
Okay. What are some things you do?
Maximizing?
What do you what do you do to maximize your Disneyland or Disney World park experience? What do you do to maximize it?
Well, Disney World, I've never been, so in terms of like what's my favorite thing to do, or
yeah, do you like collecting the buttons?
Maybe I should pass, and I'll see what everybody else has to say.
All right, see, so we'll go back to Rain.
Pass.
All right, so Rain, what do you do? What kind of things do you maximize your Disney park experience? What are some things you like to do that's free or just an experience you like to take advantage of?
He gives you an explanation. I'm like,
I haven't been here in a while. I'm the special guest star. I get special privileges.
That's right. She has been on a while. Anyway, what do you got, Trey? Or what do you got, Rain?
I'm Rain. Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long show.
Well, when it comes to maximizing everything, fast passes, are the best thing you can probably do for like all those hard to get into rides like Space Mountain, sometimes even Splash Mountain. When we were in Disney World, we actually maximized our rides by getting that wristband thing, and you can use it every time you go, and you download this app. It tells you the wait times for everything before you go into the park.
Yes.
So you can kind of plan around that, too. Like, you can go stand in, you can go watch, like, the Indiana Jones show and then pop over for Rock and Roller in the Hollywood Studios one, which is what we did, and we actually got to ride Rock and Roller 3 times in a row. You could also...
I was just going to say, I'm so glad you brought up the app because that is one of those biggest necessities you have to have is the Disneyland or Disney World app.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer an option.
I think Disneyland needs magic bands, though.
Yes, I agree.
They're very resistant to them because it's just such a corporate thing.
Mm-hmm.
The two different companies very much disagree on the whole bands.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
so fun, though, and they're so easy to use, and you never lose them.
And they're so
on your wrist.
easy.
Yeah.
Well, except that when they don't work, because I've had a couple people who've gone, and when it lost everything, and they spent more time trying to get it fixed and get their points back and get their money back and get their meals back, and it just, I don't know. I love technology, that one scares me.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that Disney World has done, in fact, I'm looking at their website right now, Disney World, they have now Wi-Fi throughout a lot of the theme park itself.
Yep,
So,
they had to do that.
Yeah, it got to the point where they had to. So if you are really trying to minimize the amount of data you're using, trying to expand your battery life on your phone, just turn your phone on airplane mode and turn on Wi-Fi. I mean, that will literally save you an absolute ton of time on charging and everything. So it really maximizes that. So now, as far as Emily, what do you do? I mean, do you go to the city hall and get free buttons to say, hey, I'm a birthday person?
No, I'm over all that. No, what I do is I definitely use the early morning stuff, but I on the weekdays rather than the weekend, so that there's less people, and then the app is a necessity. You spend the extra money and you get to do all your fast passes on your phone, and then all of your photos as well are all free. Any professional photos I take there are all on your app.
Right.
So, and what we did is we'd actually kind of only pay for like 2 of us out of the group to have that, and they'd never actually really check to see who had the fast passes. And then, of course, we were all in the photos, and they only scanned one thing. So, like, instead of paying $50, we spent $20 and got all the same privileges.
Right. You just have to kind of work it the right way.
To do that.
Just crazy. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, and that's what we've gone with, everything that's with the price of an app and just what you do to get those extra little perks and everything. So, Michelle, I'm going to go back to you because I think you've got an answer for me now, hopefully. So, what are some things you maximize your Disney park experience?
I think it's all pretty much, I mean, as far as like Fast Pass, I pretty much talked about the things that save us money. Fast Pass, I like to do, because if you really want to do Fantasyland rides, here's a perfect one. If you like to do Fantasyland but you don't want to stand in huge lines, I mean, in the end of the night, most of the parents with littles are on their way back to the hotel because the kids are tired. And so Fantasyland is least busy in the later evening. So if you're trying to get the best experience and being able to hit all those rides without a lot of lines, Fantasyland is great to hit late up at night. That's one of my favorite ways to get that done.
Or during the extra early morning hour, that extra hour.
Much to Michael's dismay, he married a night person.
Oh, you and I got to go to Disneyland then. I'm a night owl all the way.
I have done one magic morning. We have done one magic morning. He's probably snuck out of the hotel and done more and then just come back before I knew it. But we've done one magic morning, and we're there for a few days. I don't see the need of getting to being there right when the park opened. I wasn't really excited to see the rope drop. I mean, we did it, and I was like, okay, that was it. Michael loved it, but it wasn't as much pomp and circumstance as I thought as I was going to get out of it. So I like to sleep in a little bit and like saunter on over and enjoy myself, and I don't leave to go do naps or anything like that. A lot of people like to do that.
Right.
But I don't want to leave until the last person is leaving the park either.
See, the benefit...
I want to be there.
I have never been able to take naps when I've gone to the park. We always have that intention because we're close by, but it never happens, ever.
See, I think it's going to be beneficial for us, especially since we're going to the East Coast, that we'll be able to stay up till like late. But it's like trying to figure out, okay, what time should we get up to, like trying to get on some sort of a time difference that we're going to have and everything. So that's the only thing that's going to be different.
That'll be the time difference there. It'll be later, so I might actually be a morning person in Florida.
Oh, I don't know how that's possible. But,
right now, because in Florida, on our time, like 6 a.m. is actually 6 a.m. there is 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. here.
Weird thing about that, we actually were in Florida.
Right?
No, wait. It's midnight, right? Well, the recording is at 9 p.m. here, but
I just picked a random.
Okay.
It's 3 hours later. It's 3 hours late. I just picked a random time in the morning.
Okay.
Okay. It's 3 hours later in Florida than it is here.
Right.
Which means it's later on our body clocks. My body clock is still going to feel like I'm waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning if I woke up at 6.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
It's when it's coming home that it's going to be painful.
I know, getting up at like 4 a.m.
And I won't be wanting to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning because it'll be 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal.
So in Florida, I might be a morning person, but in Nevada, I'm not a morning person.
Right. Trish, what about you?
Well, to maximize everything, I'm a big planner.
Me too.
I like to plan. Well, like for you guys are going to be there, December 1st?
Yes.
So June 1st, you're going to want to make your dining reservations 6 months in advance.
Right.
Because literally you need to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to get to eat in a sit-down restaurant.
Oh, we need to do that.
And then
I would have known that.
And then, are you staying on property or off property?
Off property.
Then 30 days before you go, that's when you can make your fast pass reservations, and you have to make sure that they don't interfere with your dining reservations. So it's a heck of a lot of planning going on there.
Right.
But it's worth it.
We don't have to do that in Disneyland, though.
Yeah.
Not in Disneyland, though, but in Disney World. Yeah. I know it's hard to believe.
Yeah, we're going to have to sit down and discuss this further.
That's right.
It kind of stinks because for Disney World, you have to literally plan your entire trip 6 months before you go. You have to know which park you're going to be in which day to make your dining and your fast passes and stuff.
That's
so it's kind of crazy, but that's.
So are they going to do we know what hours those parks are going to be open? Are they different than, so like in Disneyland and DCA might be open later, or Disneyland might be open later on a specific day. So that's how we've always kind of decided which day we were going to go, which park. Are we going to know what time they open and close in 6 months?
You're going to be in the winter hours, so they're going to be closing early, unfortunately. Especially on weeknights. Disneyland closes like at 9 o'clock. I mean Magic Kingdom. Sorry.
That's like at 6 p.m. our time.
Yep. And
we're definitely getting up early then.
Right, we have to.
And Animal Kingdom sometimes, they have that New River night show, so they stay open until about 8.
But I've seen it that they would be open only until like 5 o'clock in the evening sometimes. 5, maybe 6.
If they don't have the night show, yeah.
Right.
It's very crazy how early they close in the off-season hours. But.
Right. But the good news is that Disney Springs is open till like midnight or 1 a.m. every night. So I mean, I'm sure we'll spend half their time at Disney Springs.
Plenty to do.
And I'll say, as far as not being, because I went to Orlando without Michael. And Michael went to Orlando without me, and we agreed that we would not go to Disney World without each other, without the family. So I went to Disney Springs. So if you can't afford Disney World and you are in the area, Disney Springs it's not Disney World, but it's a nice little. It takes the edge off. So if you're jonesing for a little bit of Disney Springs was enough that I was there every day from when I wasn't in meetings, I was in Disney Springs, and I was fine just walking around. And I mean, I had a blast. In the largest Disney store in the world. There was music, there's bands, there's different things going on there. There's all sorts of activities.
It's like its own amusement park in itself.
You don't have to pay for them either. These are all free things. I mean, just walking through the store is in and of itself is pretty magical. I mean, you didn't even know when you could get out of the store. It was so big, and that was enjoyable just to be able to walk through and look at everything, and the bands and the music that they had going on, and the different activities. And Raglan Road is they have live music from Irish. It's an Irish pub that's been assembled and brought across to. It's an actual Irish pub that was transported across the ocean and built at Disney Springs, and they have live music. These are actually people who are from Ireland performing, and so you can go in there and enjoy the music there as well. So there was a lot to do. So if you can't afford the park, and you're in Orlando, or if you're not allowed to go to the park because one of the spouses might kill you, Disney Springs is a nice, cheaper, free thing to do. And they have one of the best.
Disney Springs has free parking, too.
Yes. Well, I took they had the free bus that takes you from. I was on a Disney property for that one, and there's a free bus that just takes you everywhere, and including Disney Springs. I would get up in the morning, get on the bus, and go to Disney Springs to get Starbucks, and come back to the meeting at the hotel every morning.
Yeah, and they have the bus. They have the boats. There's boats that go from like Disney Springs to other hotels as well, and they can get to.
Yeah, and the boat's free too, but it's kind of like a ride, but it's not.
Whee!
They even have a boat that just goes from different points along Disney Springs, because Disney Springs is really long.
Right. It's like a theme park in itself. I mean,
it's a lot of walking too. So.
Yeah. Vicky, what about you?
Oh. It depends on what the purpose of the trip is. When I'm going for my long trips, my 5-6 days, the first thing I do is I relax, because I remind myself I've got plenty of time to see everything. And then we actually get to do everything we want to do, and it's kind of an attitude thing. When we're going for the short trips, the 1-2 day trips, then we make a list of what must we do, what we would like to do, what, if God willing, we can fit it in, we'll do, and screw it, we don't care. And we do that, and we always do our must-do list. And it just, I don't know, it seems to take the edge off of it. And so it kind of goes back to the planning. Without over-planning it to death. I have a tendency to do that, too.
No, that's okay. That's okay. And what it boils down to, I think, with all this that we've gone over today is you just have to really kind of sit down and think about what you're going to do. Like, where are you going to go? What park are you going to go to? How much are you looking to spend? Have a budget. Okay, our budget's, $3,000. Okay, well, $3,000 is going to get you this. Don't overspend what you have intended. It's like if your budget for food is like, let's say your family budget, let's say family of 4, your budget per day is like $200 for food. Okay. Well, if you go under that, then okay, maybe set that money aside and go and maybe save it for souvenirs or something. So before you leave, you can get something on the way out. But like if, let's say the next day you go a little over that, okay, well, it's not so bad. So you got to stick with the budget. You got to know what you want. You got to pretty much know what you want. So look for the best hotel that you want that's in your price range. Look for tickets that are going to be good value for you guys. Again, there's park hoppers or there's regular one-day passes that Emily brought up very, very awesomely with. And then do you guys want to drive or do you want to fly? Keep in mind, if you do fly, you may have to get a rental car. You may have to take a ride share, taxi, whatever, shuttle. You have to look at what time to go, like what time of the year you want to go. Are you looking for a holiday experience? Are you looking for the Disney Christmas Halloween edition? They do things around 4th of July as well. Nothing on the grand scale of it. But really look at the calendar and say, okay, is there something big coming up? Like this October, Mickey's birthday celebration is going to happen. And it's going to happen at Walt Disney World and it's going to happen at Disneyland. That's going to be something that's going to go on for 9 months. So be prepared. Well, I mean,
birthday like that.
I know. Well, remember Disneyland celebrated 3 years of their turning 60. So I mean that
is true.
So and then just look at what's around the hotels. Are you looking? If you're looking at an expensive hotel, do they offer free breakfast? Do they have a lot of transportation? So there's really a lot to go over. I know this has been a very, very long episode. I knew this was going to be a long episode, but this is definitely something that we all had the opportunity to kind of sit down and go through everything. As we mentioned, when this podcast will drop, which should be tomorrow, we will do a separate post about all the links that you can get. Everyone's going to chip in and give their best links on where they can save the money and some ideas that will happen throughout their experiences at Disney parks. Ladies, wasn't this informative?
Yeah, this is great.
A lot of information. There was information that I didn't know. As far as the Disney dining, table for 9 or table for 3, please, for 8 months in advance, but that's okay.
I do want to do those nachos.
They sound good.
And don't forget the lobster nachos.
Oh no, I knew about the lobster nachos.
I just like nachos.
Yeah, but they don't have that at the Cove anymore. Although I guess
they do. They still have it.
I'm gonna follow Trish.
But the Cove is closed. The Cove Bar?
Yeah, when they reopen it though, they're still going to have it.
Sweet.
It sounds like they're having the same food because, and of course, if you don't know what we're talking about, the Cove Bar, Paradise Pier is all going through the Pixar Pier. But I did read something that their food is going to remain the same. It's just going to have a new name and just some different things.
I'm fine with that. That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, at the new remade pizza,
The Pizza Port?
Pizza Planet.
Yes.
They are now doing family meal deals there. I don't know if anybody had mentioned that.
Really?
Yeah, you can get a pizza, a huge salad, 4 drinks, a dessert, everything, and it's like, I want to say $60, well worth the price. I mean, because it fed a family.
It's a lot more than that to do it individually.
Right. It
Exactly.
is because and they do have the different food options there. In fact, Pizza Planet, Pizza Port does have gluten-free pizza. So if anyone has any food allergies, they do have gluten-free there. But, I think what they're doing is they're trying to put a little bit of an Italian twist on it because they do serve Italian food there. That, hey, you know what? Maybe let's just get a family of 4 together. $60, you know what? Their food's not that bad. It's not the best food. It's not,
It was pretty good, and it was cannolis. I'm pretty sure that's what you call it. Cannolis, little chocolate in the middle with the wrap on the outside or whatever for dessert.
Cannoli.
Yeah, they were really good. It was the meal. We were really surprised how good it was, and for the price, you couldn't beat it. It came out quickly. It's a separate order line, so you don't have to compete with everybody else. It was fairly new as far as I know when I got there, so it turned out to be awesome because how much money you spend on a meal in Disneyland is so
Yes.
It's pretty expensive. One thing I was going to mention here before we wrap it up, one thing on the park experience, on the app there are they will tell you where you can meet Disney characters. So if you want to meet Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, you can find out everything that you want on the app. So in the Google Play Store, in the App Store, in any kind of whatever your device is, they will have it. The My Disney experience is Walt Disney World, and of course if you just search Disneyland, you'll pull it right up there. If all else fails, just search Disney and it'll give you all the Disney apps, all 453 of them, and then you'll eventually run into your Disney Park app. But again, it has the characters, it has the dining locations, it tells you whether they're open or closed, it gives you the wait times, it even tells you where the bathrooms are and where your exact location is. So you'll have to turn on location when you do get to the park.
And each of the apps have their own label. If you do Disney Park in California, it's different from Disney Paris. It'll say Disney Paris or Disney Japan.
Yes.
Good point. Yeah, because it will. Yeah, you definitely don't want to download Disneyland when you're at Disney World because that will obviously not. They're like, you're not even close. You're way off. You're 3,000 miles away from the nearest.
The app just updated today, and you can now order food and beverages at select restaurants.
That's awesome.
Is that at Disney World or Disneyland?
Disneyland.
Yep. And also,
but I thought that was only for pass holders.
Nope.
Oh, okay. I just got it in my pass holder.
I think and that might be something. And I know a lot of restaurants, even the fast food places, like I will honestly order McDonald's from the app. You can order food. Chick-fil-A does this as well too. You place your order online, and as long as it works right, if you go inside or drive-through or whatever, that food should at least be being prepared so you can skip the line or what have you. So it's probably more for streamlining the lines.
Yes.
And I know some places, even I know Disneyland had this a while back, and I don't know if they got rid of it or bring it back, but you can actually order your food from a kiosk. You take your time, see what you want, and then when it's done, then you go to the counter and they'll give you your food. So I know Disneyland had that. I don't know if they took it out, but it's one thing that they are definitely looking at. Just kind of the future stuff. So. But that's going to do it for us. Ladies, it's been a wonderful hour and 42 minutes and 20 seconds, right?
Woo! Yeah, we gotta go pick something up, and you're helping, by the way.
I actually am going to bed.
You are. You actually have to. So
Okay.
we'll talk about that here in a minute. But
No, that's okay.
it's for a good cause.
Okay,
It's for a good cause. Vicky knows.
Yep.
all right. Well, anyway,
Yep.
so
She's actually been waiting for us for about a half an hour.
okay.
So,
Uh-oh.
Well,
Yeah,
you better
I'll
get in
do
your
that.
car. So, anyway, that's going to do it.
Yeah.
From everyone here on the DisneyVerse Podcast, from Rain, Michelle, Emily, Trish, and Vic, this is Michael. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you guys later on the next edition of the DisneyVerse Podcast.